Hello everybody, welcome back. We got a really exciting package in the mail. This is the final piece to all of our curriculum for the upcoming first grade homeschool year. If you don't already know me, I'm Jessica. I'm an ex-public school teacher turned homeschooling mama to 3. And here on this channel, we talk about everything from our journey with homeschooling to motherhood to cancer prevention in our family and everything in between. So welcome. As you can tell, we are going with Christian Light Education for our reading program this year. If you've watched any of my videos in the past, you know that we used The Good and the Beautiful last year, and we are making the change over to Christian Light Education. It took me months of researching and ordering different reading curriculums and looking through samples and things like that to finally decide on what I felt was going to be best for my daughter for the first grade year next year. I'm not going to bore you with a long introduction. Let's just get right into it and do our unboxing. Okay, so comes in a nice compact cardboard box. There is a lot of stuff in here. The box looks small, but a lot fits in there, and it was really heavy actually. And we did order it about 5 days ago and just paid for like the cheapest shipping there was, and it came fairly fast. And we live here in Florida, so I think it's shipping from Pennsylvania. Yes. Oh, Virginia. So there's our little invoice there. And we'll start with the teacher's guide. So it looks like that. Now, I was a little confused because the first grade program for Christian Light Education is actually split into 2 different units that you buy. One is called Ready to Read, and then we move into just Reading 1. So this is the teacher's guide for Reading 1. It is that spiral bound, and I did talk to several families who said do not forego this for the first grade year. I guess other grade levels, sometimes you can go without the teacher's guide, but for this level, everybody definitely recommended getting the teacher's guide. So it's laminated on the front, nice spiral bound in the middle. Nothing super colorful or eye-catching or pretty, which was one thing I loved about The Good and the Beautiful, but this is a solid curriculum. So the pretty colors and illustrations was something I was willing to forego for something real solid. And then next we have what they call the light units. So these are the paperback unit books, nice and thin. So instead of my daughter having one giant student book for the year, the units are split into 10 different what they call light units. And they're just these cute little paperback books. I love them because I can just like throw them in my bag and take them to the library or wherever we're doing our learning that day, or all the traveling that we've been doing. I thought it was really nice to have something convenient. And even though it's not an open and go curriculum per se, where the teacher's guide information is inside, like Good and the Beautiful had, it is still open and go for the student, where she can just open to the page that she's supposed to be on and do her work for the day. So we have Light Unit 101, the numbers on the side there, and then she'll move into Light Unit 102. And I'm assuming you get the pattern, 103, 104, and so on. So like I was explaining, the first grade year is slightly different than the other grade levels. The first grade year is split into a Reading 1 unit for 10 weeks, I believe, and then the Learning to Read unit, which actually comes before the Reading 1. So she'll actually do her red books first, and just pulling this out, this one feels slightly thicker than the Reading 1 book. This was a little confusing too. They do have a placement test on their website, which was helpful. If you saw my last video, my daughter scored off the charts on our homeschool testing at the end of the kindergarten year. So I was a little hesitant to start her with this Learning to Read, but when I looked through the sample, because they will send you a sample, by the way, of whatever grade level you want, it showed me that this curriculum is pretty heavy duty in their expectations for their students. So I just felt better, and I went ahead and got the Learning to Read unit. So this is Light Unit 101 for Learning to Read. 102. And then number 10. So the Learning to Read unit is 10 units. And actually, I was mistaken. It's the learning to read light units. There's 10 of them, and the reading 1 unit, there are only 5. And that's what was confusing when I was ordering. I wasn't quite sure if this unit was missing some because the rest of them all had 10 units for all the other grade levels. But no, you are supposed to do the learning to read at the beginning of the first grade year and then move into reading 1, which there are 5 units for. The learning to read teacher's guide. This is very, very thick. It is definitely thicker than reading 1. So you would do learning to read first and then move into the reading 1. This is another learning to read teacher guide. So I actually forgot about this, that there are 2 teacher guides for the learning to reads. This one is for light units 101 through 105, and this one is through light units 106 through 110. So there is a lot of information in here, so much so that they had to fit it into 2 unit books for the teacher. Then we have the reading books that go along with the unit books. So the light units are these paper books that the students are actually writing in. And then for the learning to read, for those 10 units, there's these small little readers that come with each of them. So this one is We Live, and you can see just by opening up to the first page here, very basic. They're basically just little readers that she'll be reading from. I'm not sure if there will be comprehension along with these or if it's just phonics based, because Christian Light Education does have their own phonics program too, so I'm not quite sure how heavy we'll get into the phonics. Nothing super eye-catching. They're not these beautiful, colorful pictures like we had in The Good and the Beautiful. There is a little pop of color on the front, but inside, nothing too special. I actually appreciate that. I think that sometimes the illustrations can become a little distracting. But again, it's a solid curriculum. I'm not as concerned about the lack of color with this one. So the next one is We Explore, a little bit thicker, and you can see a lot more text inside of that one. Then we have the We Learn. So she'll move through each of these even more advanced. So when I was hesitant about going with the learning to read, thinking my daughter doesn't need that, she's way too advanced, when I took a look inside these books, you can clearly see it bumps them up quick, right? Starts them super basic and then it really bumps them up. So I highly recommend not skipping the learning to read. We Discover, much smaller text now, less space in between. Again, nothing special with the pictures. It doesn't change. Okay. Then we get into her reader for reading 1. So for her learning to read light units, she'll be using these readers, which I thought there was a 5th one. Let me just make sure. Okay, so that's it for the box. This is the reader that will go with her reading 1 light unit. So the blue books right here. This is her reader for that. So her red learning to read units, she'll use these small readers, and then when she moves into her blue book, she'll start using this. And this is a compilation of several different stories and poems. It's actually a mix of them. And this one does have color, okay? So if you are somebody who needs that color in your life, it does have color. Not too much, not distracting, nothing like that. But look at this. Look at how much text there is. When I taught 1st grade public school, my 1st graders were not reading books like this, okay? We were reading like one-liners that were repeated over and over with the pattern. So this is really expecting a lot of 1st grade, which I love and appreciate. A couple more pictures with the color just to show you. Another thing, I don't know if this would matter to anybody, but the pages in this book are not the shiny, glossy, laminated type. Which is fine by me, but I know some people are picky about that. Okay, so that is it for the unboxing part. Now I really just want to talk a little bit about why we chose Christian Light Education, and I will be doing a full curriculum pick video soon for all of our 1st grade picks, because we are not using Christian Light Education for any other subject besides reading this year. So in a previous video of mine, you saw that I did a full Abeka unboxing. I won an entire year's worth of first grade curriculum through Abeka, including their reading program, which is really heavy duty. And I looked through the whole reading program. I actually really liked it, but it just so happened that same week that I won the Abeka curriculum, I had received my sample of the Christian Light Education. Again, you can go on their website, they'll send you a light unit sample of any subject you want. And when I saw the sample, it blew my mind. I was so impressed with how deep it goes into different reading concepts and how it includes phonics and comprehension and foundational skills all in one. Even though, again, they have their own phonics curriculum, they still lump all that into the reading. I also really liked that it was just one reader for the reading one versus Abeka had like 8 different readers that you had to go throughout the year, so I wasn't too keen on that. Then I really started to dive into the history of Christian Light Education and spoke with several families who have put all of their children through Christian Light Education and are very successful now in adulthood. That always makes me feel better. So even though it looks simple, it doesn't look like anything special, it really is solid. From everyone that I've talked to that has used this curriculum, I actually haven't met anybody yet that used it and didn't like it. Not saying that there's not families out there who didn't like it, I'm sure there are, but just me personally, I did not talk to anybody personally who did not like it. Another really great selling point for this curriculum, at least from my point of view, was that it is very cheap compared to its counterparts. I will say that most of the reading curriculums we looked into were very expensive, especially because we have multiple children, and Christian Light, for the quality, I thought the price was excellent. Now, again, it's not like fancy laminated glossy books, and you do have these, paper booklets that you can just throw away when you're done. But it is great for the price. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you look out for our full curriculum picks for the 2023-24 first grade school year.